How you write an unlikable yet compelling character. I'm going to share the 4 guides I used in writing Eleanor for Unborn Melody, my latest fiction work. Hello there, welcome to Pen to Paper. I'm leahtlind, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. And today's video, we're going to be honing in to the character of Eleanor, which is the main female protagonist for my latest historical fiction, literary romance novel, Unborn Melody. Now, I have to tell you that it was interesting writing the female main character for this book because most of the time I didn't even like her, and yet I felt compelled to tell her story. Have you ever read a character that you really didn't have that much in common with, you didn't really care for the way they acted, and yet there was just something that kept you reading, something that made you interested in what decision they were going to make next? That's kind of how Eleanor was for me. She's very different from my character, my worldview, and yet it's something that I really wanted to explore with her, and really she made me do it. This is the only time I can say that, because I promise you I'm not going crazy. Characters do speak to me. So here are my 4 tips or guides to write unlikable yet compelling characters. Number 1, they need to have serious flaws. There are many books out there with redemption stories, with that Beauty and the Beast theme or vibe, but many times the characters don't actually fulfill that beast-like quality because they're aesthetically like a beast, or they have very minor flaws that the reader and even the love interest can easily leap over to fall in love with them. But in order for a character to be unlikable, there really should be unlikable qualities about them. And not just preferential unlikable qualities. Think of qualities that people tend to not like in other people. So if they're very proud, if they're very selfish, if they always want to do what they want to do, being bossy. Those are kind of unlikable characters, or I should say qualities in a character. So for your character to actually be unlikable, give them serious flaws, and don't just show their flaw once or even twice in the story. It should be a theme in their lives of they are acting this way all the time. Now, that could be in the way that it manifests itself in their actual character, but you should also see it coming from their worldview, for out of our worldview comes the way that we act, our character. So really dig deep into how can you make your character unlikable, and maybe pick 1 or 2 very unlikable qualities about them that you are really going to trump up throughout at least the beginning and toward the middle of your book, to show that this character is not someone you would naturally root for. My second guiding point into writing this kind of character is that there should be a reason why your character is unlikable. A lot of the times when you have a character acting that way, or someone even in real life acting that way, ask yourself, why do they act that way? It could be they went through a very traumatic experience and fear has preyed in their hearts, turning them into characters that have walls and defense systems that don't easily bring out the nicer side of themselves. Or it could be they faced rejection, or that perhaps they were even nurtured to be that way by the people around them at a young age. But really dig deep and figure out their backstory. Why are they the way they are? Because if we understand the backstory, then we can at least understand why your character is the way they are. If we can't understand your character, then they're really just a character that's unlikable and we really don't care to know more about. Or they're unlikable and then they're just annoying, period. We don't even want to see them in the picture. So really make sure that you dig deep. And you know what? A great example of this is the Darkling in the Shadow and Bone series. Obviously, he's a very bad character. He kills a lot of people, and yet they show his backstory of how that was not his main intention at first. He had somewhat good intentions, but they quickly warped into bad ones when he had all this power at his fingertips to do what he willed to do. And although you may not sympathize with the way that he decides to do things, you understand where he's coming from and how the power that he received warped his intentions over time. And so you want your character to have something similar where your reader can understand why they are the way they are. Hey there, if you like this type of content, please click the like button and subscribe to receive content like this every week. Is to make sure that your character doesn't remain static. Eleanor in Unborn Melody makes a lot of terrible decisions at the beginning of the book. And then even when she makes a slightly better decision, she makes a few bad ones again. It's not realistic for your character to just have this very smooth incline toward a better character, a more likable personality. They're going to make a lot of mistakes because it is not natural for them. It is not routine for them to make good decisions or to be humble or to be selfless. They are going to fall flat on their face many, many times before that becomes a habit, before it becomes who they actually are. And so you have to be realistic with the fact that they're going to make lots of mistakes on their road to changing their character. But make sure that you do have some sort of character arc that shows, at least, even if they don't get better, at least some change, either in the way that they think or some change in the way that they react towards other people. Even though the Darkling, again, I'm going to use him as an example, doesn't change the fact that he wants the power to do whatever he wants, you do see him shift his view somehow by the fact of his relationship with Alina, who is the main female character in the series. And as she is inserted into his life, he starts believing that he could do things slightly differently to accommodate her in his life. And that just changes his character arc a little bit over time. And then it kind of also presents that you can see that war in his heart between wanting to perhaps be better or going back to what he's used to, which is doing things for his own means by any means possible to get the outcome he wants. And so that's what makes the character compelling, is that they're always changing and that they're not having this perfect climb toward being a better character. The fourth guiding point that I used in writing Eleanor was that it's so nice to root for a character when another character is rooting for them as well. If no one is rooting for your character because everyone can't stand to be around them, how are you as a reader supposed to root for that character? It's very difficult. Even the Darkling's case, you have Alina rooting for him at the beginning, and then you have his generals and his people that he leads rooting for him because they believe in his cause, and he gives them a sufficient answer to their questions and helps them believe in his cause. And that's exactly what you want to do with a character who's not likable. You want characters rooting for them. So in Unborn Melody, my character Eleanor, although she's pretty selfish a lot of the time, she has a friend who helps her see that being admired and having real friends is not the same thing. And this person goes out of her way to be friends with her. And they do have like a natural bond and camaraderie. Yeah, and then with the main male character, he's a constant force of love in her life, and despite whatever terrible attitude and actions she throws at him, he's bound by promise and honor and is always ready to see the small little good steps she takes. And when you have a character doing that for a selfish character, that really gives you hope that that character, the one that's selfish or proud or just bad, could change, could be rooted for. Although writing unlikable and compelling characters is not very easy, especially when you don't like them as well, it can definitely be done. And these are good 4 basic guiding points to accomplish that. Tell me, what unlikable yet compelling character have you read in literature? I mentioned the Darkling, and I'd love to hear some other examples that you can come up with. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being on the channel. Have an awesome week. Take care. See you next time.